Just over a year ago, I made a video ranking the MCU films at the time. And since that video, several more films have come out, so that video is now really out of date. So I was waiting for the final Aquaman film to come out so that the DCEU is now officially finished, with James Gunn rebooting it. So now I can confidently rank them, and nothing's gonna change unless I rewatch them, of course, and rankings change or whatever. But as of this is how I feel about them. So I'm going to rank 16 films, including Zack Snyder's Justice League as a separate film, because let's face it is a entirely different film to the Joss Whedon cut. I'm not ranking TV shows, so I'm not ranking Peacemaker, that's the only one. So 16 films. Let's go.
Birds of Prey. So hey, that Deadpool film did very well, so let's make our own version of that. Just take Harley Quinn and make her like Deadpool. That's all I could think about when watching Birds of Prey. The sort of meta opening narration she does and the fast edits and cuts is very Deadpool. And equally as annoying. This film just annoyed me. The characters are all irritating. From Harley to Black Mask, they just say unfunny dialogue and yell obnoxiously. Just shut up, please. Of all the DCEU films, this is the one I have no desire to watch again. Just thinking about how annoyed the film made me on the first watch. Iron Man 2 was on the bottom of my MCU list, and I'd rather watch that film again than this. Shazam! Fury of the Gods. So this is the DCEU equivalent of For the Dark World, just a forgettable, inoffensive, generic nothing of a movie. You're going to forget this as soon as it ends. The actors don't care, particularly Lucy Liu, she's just sleepwalking through it. Helen Mirren looks like she is trying at least. Wonder Woman also randomly shows up and revives Shazam out of nowhere. She's just a Deus Ex Machina. How lazy, I thought. This is one of 2 DCEU films to receive a Razzie nomination for Worst Picture. Don't think it's that bad, but I see why it was nominated. Justice League. When I first saw this film, I just wrote it off as a generic superhero film, which is pretty much what it is. We have a one-note villain, the film introducing 3 key characters and not giving them much to do or characterization, the completely obvious reshoots thanks to terrible CGI Henry Cavill mustache, the awkward forced comedy. Thank you, Joss Whedon. What he essentially did here with the reshoots is turned the film into a generic Marvel movie. I did like Batman calling out Wonder Woman for being absent all these decades, though. She needed to hear that. The climax is terrible. Why is there a random family next to a nuclear plant? And Superman and the Flash race to save them? It's dumb. Not a good film.
Shouldn't we have a league of our own?
Oh, wow, I do hope this post-credit scene comes back. Wonder Woman, 1984. I'd say this is a worse film compared to Shazam 2 and Justice League, but it's higher because it is so entertainingly stupid and memorable. The storyline with these wishes doesn't make any sense. I was really confused during the film how exactly they work, and surely, if Max renounces his wish at the end, then shouldn't every other wish be void? He wished to be the wishing stone, so why does everyone in the world have to renounce their wish? And would everyone in the world really renounce their wish? What if they wished for their family members to be cured of cancer or something? They are not going to renounce that wish. Like, seriously, am I meant to believe that everyone renounces it because Wonder Woman says so? Kristen Wiig's Tigress just reminded me of Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2 and the main villain of Iron Man 3, whose name I don't remember. Someone who just idolizes the main hero and becomes evil. Why is this a trope? Steve coming back was pointless. The scene where she does undo her wish did get to me, though. Gal Gadot is actually emoting here. Pedro Pascal is also so memorable as Max, becoming increasingly unhinged as the film goes on. I like his performance, but overall, the film's story is a mess and makes no sense. Wonder Woman deserved a better sequel. There was also no reason for this to be set in 1984, like they really did nothing with that aesthetic. Suicide Squad. Sorry, Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad. That will never not be funny to me. This film does feel like it has been meddled with a lot, be it the inconsistent tone, the forced humor, and what ultimately ends up as a really bland finale. It really got me when Harley told off Enchantress for messing with her friends, when I honestly did not get any chemistry from anyone in this team. Jared Leto is bad as the Joker. I don't like this interpretation of him. It's like he is just trying to one-up Heath Ledger with how crazy he can be, and it just comes across as desperate. Watching the film, though, it's fine, if very forgettable. The film just didn't take a lot of risks, and they really should with a team of villains. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. A very ambitious film, but it really falls flat. The scope of its ambition just crumbles under its feet. I love the opening of the film, Bruce running while Superman and Zod fight. It's such a cool scene, seeing what it was like on the ground. My main problem with this film is how the contrasting ideologies of Batman and Superman don't make much sense. It's understandable why Batman is at odds with Superman. He intentionally killed lots of people and sees him as a threat. But Superman? He doesn't like Batman because he brands people and is a vigilante? Is that it? Really? Really, what Superman should do is hold a press conference and explain the situation with Zod? I'm sure people will understand, because all he does in this film is not give the public answers. Clearly, this event had such a huge impact on the people of this world. It's like 9/11. I'm sure the imagery is very purposeful to compare it to 9/11, but Superman is just dumb to not address this. Then we have Lex Luthor, who is like manipulating people in the background. I don't even understand why he hates Superman and wants him to fight Batman. It's not explained why. Also, Jesse Eisenberg is hugely miscast in this role. What is he doing? It's like a mix of Heath Ledger's Joker, Jim Carrey's Riddler, and Mark Zuckerberg all in one. He's not intimidating. He seems like an awkward teenager rather than a business tyrant, and I don't think I have ever seen one single performance bring down a whole film like this. He really earned his Razzie win. The final act is terrible. They didn't earn Superman's death. It's way too early, and the CGI action mess of fighting Doomsday is just uninteresting. There's interesting ideas in this film, but it's just too much for it to handle. I admire its ambition, but it falls flat. At least it has memorable scenes and moments, plus the cinematography is really stunning in places. It got a Worst Picture nomination at the Razzies. I personally don't think it deserved it, because I think there is merit in the movie, even though the negatives really outweigh the positives. Black Adam. I enjoyed the spectacle of this film, and Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, it's entertaining. The stakes for the film seem very low compared to the other films, though. Like, really, I should care about this kid that they kidnapped? He's just annoying. I was really surprised how graphic, without crossing the line, the violence is in this film. But I think the film is fine. Doesn't overstay its welcome and has really good spectacle.
Black Adam. We should talk.
Oh wow, I do hope this post-credit scene comes back. The Flash. What the hell is up with these CGI babies? The CGI looks really laughably bad at points in this film, and it's very distracting. Now, I'm a sucker for time travel stories, so this should be right up my alley, and it is, to an extent. I really like how time travel is used, and that Barry and everyone fails at the end, so he keeps going back, but it's still the same. You sometimes can't fix it, even though he wants to keep his mum alive. I do like the opening with Batman. Wonder Woman just shows up randomly and saves them, though. What is it with her random appearance in these last few DCEU films? It was nice to see Ben Affleck one last time. I believe his Batman had great potential, and it was a waste. George Clooney showing up at the end was funny, I admit. I find Barry annoying, though. Maybe it's because of how Ezra Miller plays him. They don't play him very seriously, and I don't think they can hold a film as a lead. Barry is fine in small doses, but not as the lead. I still love the time travel aspect of the film though, and the cameos that show up, even if it does feel like really too much at times, needs better CGI though. Man of Steel. A really good character study of Superman, showcasing a more dark and realistic take on the character. Thanks, Christopher Nolan. The ending destruction of Metropolis, well yeah, look at all the people they are probably killing, is a really spectacular sequence. I love the shot composition of it, and really throughout the whole film, it looks gorgeous. Even if Zack's Jesus imagery is really ham-fisted down your throat, we get it, Zack. You think Superman is like Jesus. His dad dying was dumb, even if I do get why he did it, so Clark doesn't reveal himself to the world, and he has always been about protecting Clark and what he can do. Hence why he said maybe he shouldn't have saved all the kids on the bus. He is unsure, and the film offers these grey questions when examining the Superman character. The film is a good action spectacle though, but like most of Zack's films, it thinks it's deeper than it actually is. Good film though. Aquaman. This film is entertaining. Not much to really say about it. Jason Momoa oozes charisma, and I love seeing the world of Atlantis. It's good. Not many flaws really. It is too long though. Yeah, I know I said a lot about the other films, but really it's just a good entertaining romp that somehow became the highest grossing film in the franchise. Really wasn't expecting that. Anyway, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. The last DCEU film, and I think it's just more of the same from the first Aquaman. But I like it better because Jason Momoa has more chemistry with Patrick Wilson than he ever did with Amber Heard. So this is just a really entertaining buddy film, and I love seeing more of Atlantis. I think that it is the best part of these films. The film does end like there's going to be another one though. Since Arthur is bringing Atlantis to the world, it just sort of falls flat because we know it is the end. Not the film's fault, though. Who would have thought as well that the last thing we see in the DCEU is Patrick Wilson eating a cockroach? Good, entertaining film. Blue Beetle. This was a huge surprise. It's like a superhero body horror film, particularly the transformation sequence. It's very grueling to watch. Jamie is a very likable lead, and I love how the Scarab chooses him to be the Blue Beetle. Susan Sarandon is such a bitch in this film. I really love how cold and unempathetic she is, just willing to do what it takes to get what she wants. She does die really spectacularly too. What a great hateable villain she is. I really like Jamie's chemistry with Jenny as well. Great action sequences, and all the characters are very likable. A shame the film flopped, because it is one of the best DCEU films. Go watch it, it'll surprise you. The Suicide Squad. The first film here I would say is actually great and a huge improvement over Academy Award-winning film Suicide Squad. James Gunn basically did an R-rated version of Guardians of the Galaxy, and it works so well with his brand of dark humor, graphic violence, and character banter. That opening is so great and so funny, seeing everyone get massacred like that. Despite all that though, the film does have a lot of heart, particularly with Ratcatcher's storyline and Bloodshot's decision at the end to actually save everyone. I believe the chemistry in this group more so than the first one. For one, it's because they all have their own agendas and are very distrusting of each other. It's cool just seeing where all the characters align and where they are coming from in their belief system. King Shark was a highlight. He seems like someone who just wants to be accepted and wants friends. So was Weasel. He was oddly endearing. Really great film. I put it near the best that the MCU has. Shazam. It's like that Tom Hanks film Big, but he is a superhero. I was surprised. Really enjoyed this film. It's the funniest film in the DCEU, and the jokes aren't forced. This is how these kids would react to this. It's fun to them. But in a surprising contrast, this is honestly one of the darkest films in the DCEU. The boardroom scene is grim, and the 7 deadly sins are pretty scary. There's a lot of horror and darkness in this film, more so than you would expect. I love Billy's family and his search for his mother to understand why she left him. He just wants answers. Great performances from everyone and a very fun climax.
What fun we're going to have together. The 7 realms are about to be ours.
Oh boy, I do hope this post-credit scene comes back. Zack Snyder's Justice League. A massive improvement over the Joss Whedon cut, and what we got is pretty much an entirely different film that really shows how much the studio butchered the initial cut. At 4 hours long, it's the longest superhero film ever made. I'd say it's also one of the best superhero epics ever made. Everything is better in this film. The expansion and characterization of Cyborg, who's essentially the heart of the film. The Flash gets more to do and has one of the biggest crowd-pleasing moments in the film since the Justice League lost, until he went back to reverse everything. How Superman is used is way more effective, and I like how in the climax at the end, all of them help in some way. The added nightmare sequences at the end show what the plan was originally going to be for the DCEU, and it's a shame it didn't happen. It's just a glimpse of what could have been. Who knows how this version of the film would have been received if it came out? I'm sure it would probably be cut down to 3.5 hours and then the director's cut could have been released, but as it stands, this is a phenomenal superhero epic and easily Zack Snyder's best film. It just feels like his most complete film, and most satisfying. It also doesn't have the pretentious, overhanded symbolism of Zack's other works. Highly recommend watching it. Do it in parts if it's too long. I personally sat through the whole thing. Wonder Woman, the best of the best, in my opinion, and a film I think is better than any MCU film. This is a very compelling first film of Wonder Woman that perfectly shows who she is. I love the World War I setting too, since it's not a common setting in films. While the framing device of the film with Bruce sending a letter saying he found who she is pretty clunky, and the third act going into a generic fight, I personally don't mind it, but David Thewlis's face in that armor looks odd. Everything else in the film is top tier. The scene where she storms No Man's Land is amazing. The grey moral ambiguity of the war is explored very well, and Diana and Steve have great chemistry together. I really have nothing but praise. It's a top tier superhero film, and the best in the DCEU.
Looking back at the DCEU films, they are such a mixed bag. When they are awful, they are truly awful. But I would say there are 2 films here that surpass anything the MCU has made. Compared to the sort of the soulless, bland films the MCU put out, I admire the experimentation that went into this saga, but I see it as such a missed opportunity that really lacked vision. And I hope James Gunn does have vision and that they improve, because I want them to succeed. So, yeah, until then, we'll see what happens. But still, The Dark Knight, Logan, they're 2 of the best superhero films ever made. I put them at the top of the list of superhero films. So yeah, let me know your ranking, and thank you for watching, dear viewer. Until next time.